Out of the gate, JT, as we're ready to roll today, we kick off Mendoza Monday on the flagship of the Silver and Black, RaiderNation Radio. Great to have you. There's so many ways you can listen. And we appreciate that. You can watch us live on YouTube, where we got a new deal for everybody. Nice little way for you to get involved. Follow me on YouTube. You can listen on the Raiders mobile app. I was out at Circa over the weekend, and a couple of Raider fans said to me, "When are you on?" I said, "Are you kidding me? What am I on? I've been on from noon for almost 30 years, and I had to open up their mobile app. I opened up their app, and I said, you see that radio button? Click that on. That's how you get me." And all the other ways on the Instagram. I did an Instagram live feed this morning on Ashton, Jeanty, JT the Brick LV. I'm with Clay Baker, and we're wide open today. So start dialing, get moving. Okay, we're still not there yet. We're still not there. We got a pretty big week here in Vegas. It's Alumni Week. It used to be Alumni Weekend. No, it's Alumni Week. The alumni are getting here Wednesday, and they're staying through the game. They're going to the Aces game, the Raiders game, 8 Cigar Lounge, everything. I mean, this organization really knocks it out of the park. And the Raiders made a massive donation earlier today, and everybody should be aware of what the Raiders did today. A special event at Allegiant Stadium. Mark Davis announced the Raiders' largest philanthropic commitment to date, $25 million to Intermountain Health to help build Nevada's first standalone children's hospital. The gift was led by Mark Davis and Raiders owners Egon Derman and Michael Melvin, each who contributed $5 million towards the development, with the team contributing $10 million. So for those of you who wonder why we have a stadium, why we play in Vegas, why we might improve the stadium because Elon's got this unbelievable Vegas loop that's going to go underground the stadium so we can get people to and from the game, just understand, where would Vegas be without the Raiders? This is big boy money. No disrespect to the other teams in town. This is big boy money. This is the type of money that comes to town via tourism, revenue, because of the NFL. No disrespect to the hockey team, which I love. No disrespect to the Rebels. I like the Rebels. No disrespect to are they still call them the Las Vegas Lights, Clay? Right? The Las Vegas Lights. No disrespect to them. None of this happens if the Raiders aren't here. So for all the media members who never wanted the Raiders to be here, we know who you are. We know who you are. Didn't think it would work. Stadium wouldn't work. Where would we put it, all this? You were ridiculously wrong. The amount of money that is coming into Southern Nevada, and, okay, owners get deals. They get this. They get some hotel tax money. I get it. This is working unbelievable because there would be no Intermountain Health Children's Hospital if Mark Davis didn't bring the Raiders to Vegas. That's it. I deal in facts, not fiction. All right. I was told this morning by people that I need to get in here and motivate the Raider Nation and walk them off the ledge. My wife calls me Cranky Yankee and the Brick Therapist, the Raider Therapist. That's a nickname around my house, too, where I have to give Raider fans therapy, which I don't get paid additional. I do very well with this show. We got 19 partners. I work at SiriusXM and I work for the Raiders. I'm not looking for a donation. But I can tell you this, I should have a therapy license I should have a therapist license right here on the door. So, oh boy, Ashton Jeanty. Did you see that stuff yesterday? Oh my God, sky is falling. Sky is falling. Ashton Jeanty goes down at Raider practice. I was on the radio for 4 hours yesterday from 9 to 1, so I wasn't there. And all of a sudden, my phone started blowing up from people inside the building and obviously media, and it did not look good for Ashton Jeanty. But I've been around long enough to not expect the worst because I understand how this works, and I think everybody needs to, and anybody who's a Raider fan knows this, but every once in a while we have new listeners, so I have to explain it. The Raiders put nothing out that will damage the team. Let me repeat that. The Raider organization doesn't put anything out that will damage the team. So they're not going to tell you and interrupt your pool party or your kid's birthday party and tell you something that they're not aware of. Ashton Jeanty went down. Players definitely prayed. He had to get up there. He couldn't put pressure on a leg. People didn't know if it was a knee, if it was a leg. But a lot of people assumed it was a catastrophic injury, which would be an injury that would knock him out for the year, which would be an ACL, torn patellum, whatever it's going to be. Achilles is big in football, and everybody started to expect the worst. So I'm looking around, and I kind of did one of those prayers up thing, hoping for the best, but I took it down because, again, you have the ability to take stuff down. I'm like, that's not, let's see what happens. But by no means was I predicting the injury or whatever. I even had a NFL doctor call me, who I know, and asking me if I knew anything. And I was like, are you serious? Do you think I would tell you anything if I knew it? I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that, nor do I do that. Two things I've learned from being with the Raiders this long. Don't announce anyone's death, and don't announce anybody's injury before we let you know. But there's a lot of people who make business out there by breaking news, and they want to get the clicks, and they want to be the first to tell you that someone's life is ruined. That's where we are today in media. This is what's happening in media every year around the end of August, September. People lose their jobs on the radio because they change lineups. No one did anything wrong. They just move the lineup. They take the guy who was on at 9 in the morning, they move him to 4. They take the guy at 4, Clay, right, and they move him to noon. And this happens every year, and people in our business are like, oh, am I going to get the call? Am I going to get the call? Am I going to get the call? And then you have people that break that news. They're so despicable. They call themselves radio consultants, and they have websites that say, DA got dropped from the morning show, or this guy's contract didn't get renewed. And they get off on that. That's like their job. They get clicks reporting people losing their jobs. Then there are people that want to report, and they're streamers, and I'm streaming right now, so I'm not being a wise ass. I'm not being hypocritical. I am streaming right now. There are streamers and podcasters who want to break news to get more clicks, and they want to have the video and tell you about the injury, and they don't know anything about the injury. They know nothing. They're not a trainer. They're not a doctor. The trainers and doctors don't even know who they are. They wouldn't know them if they walked into a restaurant and said hello to them, but they want to break that news first. Why? I don't know. They get a couple of extra clicks. Maybe they do or not. So yesterday, all hell broke loose. Ashton Jeanty done for the year. Ashton Jeanty, no. Let's wait and see. So it turns out it was an ankle injury. Thank God, but I don't know how severe the ankle injury is. I've been around football a long time, and when someone gets injured and has a high ankle sprain or a low ankle sprain or some type of ankle sprain, it's a big deal. And sometimes they're gone from 4 to 6 weeks. But the knee injuries are the worst. And you never want the knee to be gone because I don't care how big of a Superman you are. I don't care how great you are as an athlete. You tear your ACL or PCL, you're gone. You're not coming back, you're gone. And I'm not reporting on Ashton Jeanty's injury today. I ran that up the flagpole. But what I can tell you is that Adam Schefter's tweet is correct. So what Adam Schefter is reporting is correct. So let's listen here to Adam Schefter as he was on McAfee earlier today and updated everyone on the status of Ashton Jeanty.
It is best case scenario. Now, again, as it was described to me, it's not nothing. It's definitely something still. And they'll have to see how much time he's going to miss. But the initial reports were he was helped off the field, couldn't put any pressure on his leg, team gathered up in a huddle, like all the things that you don't want to hear that would seem to indicate that something is severely wrong or at play in this particular situation. And obviously, there was panic across social media. The Raiders, former high draft pick, people doing their fantasy drafts, they don't know what to make of it.
Huge.
But in the end, I think the Raiders for a couple of hours were holding their breath when he was going to meet with doctors. And by the time he got done with those examinations, my understanding is it's a sprained ankle. I don't know if he's going to miss any time. I don't know if they know if he's going to miss any time. They're waiting to see that. But it's certainly not a long-term injury. That we know.
All right, so that's from Adam Schefter. I was told to follow that direction, and he's got a sprained ankle. How severe is it? I don't know. He's got plenty of time to get ready. He's not going to play on Thursday. The Raiders have a whole week off after that, a mini bye week that we call it the preseason bye week, and then they have a game the following Sunday. So he's got plenty of time. If he's not able to play in the first game, we'll know about it probably pretty soon here because the head coach is speaking tomorrow, and I'm sure he's going to give everybody an update there. So that's where we stand right here. So I was talking to Clay about his show this morning, and I was texting other people, and they're telling me everybody's down. Down about what? A grown-ass football player got hurt. Grow up. Grow up. He's okay. He's looking like it's not catastrophic. Snap out of it. Like Sharon Moonstruck. She slapped Nicolas Cage in the face. Said, snap out of it. Snap out of it, Raider Nation. I don't have the injury update. I don't have the x-ray. But be positive. Be positive that it's not a catastrophic injury and from what we're getting. And if there's more updates, we'll find out about it. But oh my God, man, don't let things outside your life tear you down. Don't let speculation freak you out. Now, if Ashton Jeanty was gone for the year, I would have been devastated. Here's why. I think he's going to have a monster year. I think this playbook is designed for him to be Christian McCaffrey. Oh, and I said it. Not be like Christian McCaffrey. Eventually be Christian McCaffrey. This playbook, and I tweeted out a video today. It was Chris Sims who was on a video, and they were doing a deep dive with Kyle Shanahan. It was the best thing I saw on X today. And Kyle Shanahan was given his history of going to Tampa Bay with John Gruden. And Kyle Shanahan in the video talked about how he started on defense because his dad, Mike Shanahan, said, learn defense first if you want to be a play caller. It was really good. It was really good. And then Kyle Shanahan talked about leaving Tampa Bay and then his journey along the way and where he went. And he couldn't believe what he learned and how he was learning new knowledge at other stops along the way. And he mentioned going to Houston under Gary Kubiak. And he said, man, I'm learning how to do all these cut-ups with Gruden. And then I get to Gary Kubiak, and he's doing it completely different. And I thought the way I was doing with Gruden was 1,000% the right way. But I realized Gruden's work was unreal, but Kubiak had a different way to work. And what went off with me like a light bulb was, wow, well, that's Klint Kubiak. Klint Kubiak's the son of Gary Kubiak. And Gary Kubiak knows a lot, and Klint Kubiak knows a lot. And Klint Kubiak worked under Kyle, right? And he worked under Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings when Cousin had that great year. But what would have devastated me yesterday is as I was at a pool party. Yes, I was at a pool party yesterday. And I wasn't right at the party. I wasn't right. I was with a bunch of friends and their wives, and I'm sitting here in the pool having a cerveza, a Modelo, and I'm getting up and I'm looking at my phone every 30 minutes hitting refresh, because at that moment, we did not know if Ashton Jeanty suffered a catastrophic injury. Now, in theory, I could have called the doctor or the trainer, who are friends of mine, and I would never do that and put my reputation and those friendships on the line and ask for anything in a text because I know how to stay in my lane. But my phone was blowing up from guys who run restaurants, from guys who work in Vegas, from valets. Brick, what do you know? Do you really think I know anything I'm going to tell you? And I actually didn't know anything because the Raiders are stealth. They don't report on things that could benefit the Broncos or the Dolphins in week one. That's how they run their business. When someone dies, like Gene Upshaw or Art Shell, the first person who knows is Mark Davis. I kind of know pretty quickly after that. I don't run to Twitter and say someone died because it's not my place. So I'm just sharing with you. I was with you yesterday for some part of this. I was nervous. If Ashton Jeanty was seriously injured, and this ankle injury could be serious, I would have been crushed because I know what he can do with this playbook. Now, I'm not going to sit here and predict how many games he's going to win. That doesn't work. But what I can tell you is on third down, when everybody's keeping an eye on Bowers and everybody's looking at Naylor and everybody's looking at Big Mike Mayer, Jeanty is going to creep out into the flat and catch footballs and make one linebacker miss and go for 19 or 22 yards. And that's going to happen a lot. My prediction, a lot. if he's healthy. So everybody's like, Mike Washington's great. We know Mike Washington's good. He's never played a down in the NFL other than preseason football. Stop comparing him to Ashton Jeanty today. We don't need your comments on Mike Washington as Ashton Jeanty's getting treatment trying to get healthy for you to play football this year. We like Mike Washington Jr. He's going to do well. But you don't have to be a guy in a chat room saying, like some dope I just blocked in here who said, well, I care more about Mike Washington anyway. I think he could be better. Oh, my God. Here we go. So relax until we get new news. Okay? This is a really good player in Ashton Jeanty. He's the 6th pick overall. I've told you the core foundation of this team, the core 4. Someone at the Black Hole make the T-shirt. I'll pay you for it, and we'll make a ton of money. We won't be able to count it. The core 4 of the Raiders going forward are Tyler Linderbaum, Fernando Mendoza, Ashton Jeanty, and Brock Bowers. That's the core 4. There are other great players. Max Crosby's the face of the franchise. There's other good players, Traden Stukes, who could be excellent. But the core 4 of this team that can lead the Raiders to the promised land, which is winning the Super Bowl, will be Tyler Linderbaum, Brock Bowers, Ashton Jeanty, and Fernando Mendoza. So let's just focus on them being healthy. Fernando's a big topic because no one knows when he's going to start. That's been big. That's been big because when you think about that, you think about that overall, you're like, when's he going to start? And I'm like, I'm telling everybody, it's Cousins' team. Cousins going to start. But Coach Kubiak leaves the door open after the game saying everybody has to compete. That sounds familiar because all coaches say that. All coaches say everybody's got to compete. So if you want to call in on Ashton Jeanty today, what I would do, and I was the best caller in the country, fact, not fiction. That's how I got here by being a caller. I would call in encouraging Ashton Jeanty. That's what I would do. I'd have 9 phone lines packed with everybody calling in saying, I hope Ashton's okay. It sounds like he's going to be okay. We need Ashton. We love the guy. He's our future. I hope he's okay. That's what I would do. I wouldn't walk around doom and gloom and negative and losing sleep and banging walls and doing all that. Okay, so you do what you do because, as I've always said, this is your show. I just run it at a very fast pace. Your show, you can call in on whatever you want. But for Ashton Jeanty, I would have been in a really bad spot. And I don't know how he is today. I have no idea. Prayers up. Yes, prayer warriors out there. But if we came in this morning, Clay Baker, if you came in before your show and you get here early, and you know, I'm not putting words in your mouth, but you knew when you woke up this morning there was a chance you were going to open up your phone and say, Ashton Jeanty, torn ACL, whatever, gone for the year, and that would have been your life for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, and then the next 6 months, because this is more than just an individual player who's becoming an elite player, but this also disrupts the growth of the rest of the offense of what Fernando Mendoza could be. Fernando Mendoza needs elite weapons around him. Jeanty's a part of that formula. So if something gets disrupted in that equation, that further disrupts or delays his progress.
Well said. Well said. I mean, I'm not 22 years old anymore. I'm not in my 30s or my 40s, but I would have been, like, really bummed out. Not for you fantasy football guys. I want to thank the Draft Network. I got a big award with the Black Hole on Saturday night. I'll talk about that later. But I would have been I'm at the age right now where I can't have my heart broken in August. I often talk about the misery index on this show. I want everybody to be happy for about another 10 days. I got a big job on Thursday. I'll be calling the game with Eric Allen and Matt Millen. I got to focus on calling that game, which is not easy to do because it's all the players who aren't going to make the team, right? It's the guys who aren't going to make the team, so you got to kind of dive deep into the depth chart, but I'll get through it. But I've been preaching all summer. Why do you think I have no guest on today? I could put Harry Ruiz on, Mark Anderson, Levi Edwards, Paul Gutierrez. No, I'm giving everybody the summer off. I reached out to Sam Munson today, one of the best guests we have. He's in every Monday during football season, part of our Insider Radio Network. But I don't need to hear from anybody other than Raider fans for the next 2 weeks. I'm doing 4 hours tonight, 2 hours today. That's 6 hours solo on the radio. And I got a long day in front of me. But my day woke up much better because when I woke up, my wife's out of town. I get up early to take the dog for an early walk, and I opened up my phone, and I was pretty good last night because last night the reports were Ashton Jeanty was an ankle. It wasn't a knee, but you never know. You go to bed, you wake up in the morning, and I was like, oh, my God. The first thing I look at, other than my Facebook birthdays on Facebook, is I look at Schefter, Ian Rappaport, the guys who break news, and they were pretty encouraged on Ashton. But we'll see how that plays out. Okay. I've been around the block. I got a lot of friends who are wild. I was a president of a fraternity that made Animal House blush. I've lived in Vegas for most of my adult life. I got friends who come into Vegas and like to have fun. But none of my friends, and I got more than you could ever count, none of them have been busted for being in a trailer park in East Palestine, Ohio, like Jed York. Okay, none of my friends, and I got crazier friends than Jed York, man. My friends are nuts. They're like crazy guys. And they have never been accused of what Jed York is accused of doing. So, we're going to see how this plays out. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Now, if your owner was partaking in any type of extracurriculars, which would be contacting someone he shouldn't have had via a website or an app to go to a trailer park and get involved in something really dirty, something that you would never do, and you would never do that because if you did that, don't you think you'd be the guy that got pinched that day? That's the weird part of this. You could be a guy who could never do this your whole life. I'm never going to a trailer park looking for some person I found online. I'm never going to a massage parlor to try to do something that I heard I can do, but I've never done it before because the day you go, it's the day they sweep it with the cops. Or it's the day you're there and you're wrong place at the wrong time, brother. So I'm going to be careful with this one, too, because this one's got the NFL media all worked up because some NFL media aren't tweeting about this or talking about this, but they're talking about George Kittle and they're talking about other things, but they're not touching this one. So we will see what happens. But if you go into your X, into the search, and put in Jed York, you'll get up to date on everything you need on this issue. My whole thing is when stuff like this goes down, I just say wait for TMZ. TMZ gets it right. TMZ always gets it right. That's a company that was built by lawyers. And people used to make fun of TMZ. The most reliable, most reliable spot for any breaking news legally is TMZ. No one close. Not the New York Times, not the Daily Mail. It's TMZ. So when TMZ starts floating this around, we'll know. But Mike Florio's Pro Football Talk reporting, 49ers owner Jed York allegedly arranged to pay for $140 for sex at a trailer park in East Palestine, Ohio. And there's a mugshot as I show it to the chat. There it is. YouTube, JT the Brick. There's the mugshot. I have nothing against Jed York. I've met him once. Nothing against the guy. I know nothing against him. Don't know him at all. Kind of seemed kind of nerdy to me. Dr. York owned the team with Denise DeBartolo York. They got the team from Eddie D, known to being one of the most generous owners in NFL history. The owner that would take the entire team to Hawaii after the Super Bowls and lavish them with gifts. You really believe that Jed York deserved this team from Eddie DeBartolo? Eddie DeBartolo's sister married Dr. York. Seems like a nice, generous man, a doctor. And his son is Jed York. So don't ever give Mark Davis any heat. Mark Davis is the son of Al Davis. I got video of Mark Davis on the sideline in Super Bowl 11 with Biletnikoff and Snake. He's been around the whole team, a ball boy his whole life. And Mark says, what I don't know, and I hire people to know it. But here goes the Jed York. So a lot of people are, all over the Niners now. What are the Niners doing? What are the Niners doing? Oh, my God, what are the Niners doing? Nothing. The same thing happened to Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft, before a game against Kansas City in Jupiter, Florida, 5 minutes from where my best man and my best friend live, decided to stop off at a spot and do something there, and it's kept him out of the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame. Oh, my God, how do you keep Robert Kraft out of the Hall of Fame? He's won 6 Super Bowls. Eddie, Jerry Jones has got 3. He's in. Well, he had a personal transgression. And that leads this award-winning monologue. Yes, if they were awards for monologues, this would be submitted. That leaves me from one trailer park incident to the new starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns, Deshaun Watson. Now, as I talked about on my Sunday show, Deshaun Watson was never criminally charged with a crime. He cleared his name in court. So he walked out of court, and he did not get charged and go to jail for his allegations in massage parlors with multiple masseuses and the way he allegedly treated them. We know he's a dirtbag. We know what he did. Everybody knows what he did. But he spent a lot of time in civil court because Tony Busby, the attorney down there in Houston, just got all these women on the record, and then they sued him. And he had to settle. And we don't know what that number is. We know he's got $240 million guaranteed in probably the worst contract in the history of sports, including soccer contracts globally, Giancarlo Stanton with the Yankees, wherever you want to go. This is the worst contract in sports history. So yesterday, I was going to play an interview today from a guy. Sometimes I do that. If I interview someone less than 24 hours, I'll play it here. And the whole thing was about how they might cut him. And now today they made him the starter. So Deshaun Watson will be the starter. We'll have sound for that in a little bit. And everybody in Cleveland is losing their minds. Losing their minds. Now, last year we had Geno Smith flip off the crowd. Remember when he flipped off the crowd? He lost everybody. And Geno came here a pretty good guy. Really good guy. I'm serious. Really good guy. And he left here and Raider fans ran him out of town because he flipped them off. Deshaun Watson, the guy blew out his Achilles on his home field and the fans cheered for him. That's really outlandish and over the line. I have never booed. I have never in my life booed against my team. I've been frustrated. I've slammed empty cups to the ground. I've cursed. But I've never stood up and booed. Like, I didn't boo Jamarcus Russell. Nor would I as an employee, but if I was, I wouldn't boo him. I'd just be upset about it. And if he got benched for someone, okay, but I don't go out of my way of doing that. Cleveland did. And now Cleveland has to deal with this. It is an absolute train wreck what's going on in Cleveland right now. What an offseason, huh? The Kyle Shanahan mysterious car accident. Diana Rossini. No one wants to talk about Diana Rossini. Everybody loved her. Everybody wanted her at their Super Bowl party. Everybody wanted her on Radio Row. Everybody wanted Diana Rossini, and no one could talk about her now. All of her friends, they deleted the tweets. Jed York getting pinched at a trailer park. Hell of an offseason, huh? But I think what we care about the most is the fact that Ashton Jeanty, it looks to be an ankle injury, and we have more on that. We'll let you know. 702-365-9200 as we open up with Joe in Brooklyn, New York. What's going on, Joe?
Hey, T, what's up? Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
Listen, just glad that, Jeanty is okay. I think, as Raider fans, we didn't want to start this season off. It's miserable when you lose a star player. We don't have many star players as it is. To lose Jeanty like that, for the year would have been terrible.
It would have been brutal. It would have been devastating. And I'm exercising caution here because I don't know how bad the ankle is, but it could have been the most devastating news you could imagine.
Right. So we know it's not an ACL, which is good. Maybe he's out for the first 4 weeks. Not terrible. I don't expect Mendoza to start. But this was the excitement is to see him and Washington playing together, like running behind this line with Mendoza, getting better. Seeing all these year 2 guys grow as a team. That's the excitement for me anyway. Mike Washington's good. He's not Jeanty, but he's a very good number 2 running back behind Jeanty. You see these guys behind Mendoza, at the same time. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm looking forward to. With Kubiak, drawing up plays for these two, I'm just glad he's okay. We could, settle down. Not the worst thing in the world, even if he misses the first 4 weeks. But the excitement was, and it still is, to see Mike Washington and Jeanty behind this old line. And I year 2 players, just, growing as a team, getting better, seeing what we have, But thanks, JT.
Thank you,
and
Joe.
thoughts and prayers out to Jeanty. Hopefully everything works out okay.
Yeah, we hope everything works out with Ashton Jeanty. We'll know here on the flagship in the next couple of days, and we'll all be good here. But I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. He has an ankle injury. From what I heard yesterday at practice and those who were there, when the team huddles up and takes a knee and prays, that's not good. That's why everybody expected the worst, and I understand that. I understand why everybody expected the worst. I wouldn't say I expected the worst, but I was damn nervous yesterday because my job is reporting on the Raiders and hosting talk shows and content and interviewing the head coach. And I'd like to have a lot of good weeks talking about Ashton Jeanty, and I think that will happen. This is Mendoza Monday. It's brought to you by the DeCastroverde Law Group. Alex and Orlando DeCastroverde. If you get into an accident or injured, they will help you. They have an unbelievable legal team and staff that works tirelessly to help you if you need that help. So I hope you don't get into an accident. But if you've been driving around Vegas lately, it's like NASCAR on steroids. You need someone. The Brothers Win. BrothersWin.com. Exclusive partners of Mendoza Monday here on Raider Nation Radio. Just me and you today. I just want to talk for a couple hours, take a little bit of a break, and do 4 hours tonight. We're a full-service sports talk show. We can talk about everything. UNLV plays this weekend. And the number 1 team in America, number 1 in high school football, resides in Vegas. Bishop Gorman football. Way to go, gals.
Washington trying to follow the blockers, bounces off to the midfield, and he's into the secondary. Washington to the 30 and just tripped up at the Texans 25. Jalen Smith tracked him down to save a touchdown, but he bounced off for 32 yards.
All right, Paseo Verde advances versus Iowa on Wednesday at noon, I'm hearing. Wow, beat Washington yesterday, 5-0. Like that. Southern Nevada's got real baseball. The home of Bryce Harper. There's some really good baseball players that came out of the region, and everybody here is kind of excited about the opportunity for Little League baseball as we get rolling here. Join us live on YouTube at JT The Brick. We got more people in there today from New York than we've ever had, according to my son. We appreciate that. And we have a lot happening here. Want to talk to the people up in Reno because we have a proud new partner here, Flowing Tides Pub. Danny and his crew, they got a lot of establishments in Reno. And there's a big fire going on in and around Reno. So we hope everybody's safe up there. There's a lot of firemen. There's a lot of utility workers. There's a lot of emergency workers up there working in the state of Nevada. And we want to make sure that people up in Reno who do listen to this show and represent this show and a Raider Nation there, let's hopefully we get up there. We can help out in Reno, do a remote from Flowing Tide and get everybody going together up there, watch a game, check out some college football as we welcome them as a proud new partner of the show. If you want to get in here on Ashton Jeanty, there's only so much I'm going to do because I don't know the status of his ankle injury, nor does anybody else. But if you got an opinion on that and you want to talk about it, let's get it going here on the importance of Ashton Jeanty. And the importance of Ashton Jeanty is a big deal. Now, could the Raiders survive without Ashton Jeanty? Of course. But you don't want to see that. He's too good of a player. Also, the Raiders just announced they released wide receiver Noah Brown. So they released wide receiver Noah Brown, who was just brought in. So we'll see what happens. And I'm excited about some of the issues that I've seen so far in preseason. Most importantly, I like the quarterback play. I think Cousins in the first game against Arizona, opening drive, touchdown. Mendoza in both games looked pretty good, right? He looked good. He didn't look bad. He didn't look average. He looked good. There was a pick six. But I think Mendoza proved to everybody that he can play if he has to play. But I'm excited to see what the starters look like. So this week is going to be an important week for practice for the Raiders. I'll meet with the head coach, Klint Kubiak, with Rich Gannon and the broadcast crew on Wednesday. Wednesday, I'll be broadcasting from Raiders headquarters, and we'll get an understanding of who's going to play. And I don't know what they're going to do. I would like to see Cousins play. I would. I think Cousins, before the Miami game, another opportunity to go up against the Niner defense and to have an opening drive. I think that would be smart. If Coach Kubiak says no, he's too valuable, he can't afford him to get nicked up. Ashton Jeanty obviously is not going to be available in that game. What do you want to see with Mike Washington Jr.? I don't need to see more of Mike Washington Jr. I'm good. You want to run a couple of balls with him up the middle and get him out of the game, I'm fine. Don't need to see Max Crosby play at all. I don't need to see Colt Miller play at all. Don't need it. I don't need to see Tyler Linderbaum play at all. But if they want to put the ones out there with Kirk Cousins, because he's the quarterback, you should have the ones out there with him. And then Fernando, more of Fernando is a good thing, because the reports are, I think, that Fernando will not start the season. So if he's not going to start the season, put him out there for the last preseason game. And we just saw what Aiden O'Connell could do in Houston. We just saw that. So there's a lot happening here, and I think there's a lot of optimism around Raider Nation. And in about a week or so, we're going to gear up exclusively for the Miami game. We're going to go heavy on the Miami game, as you're aware of that. 702-365-9200. Stevie G out in Oakland, the town.
What's happening, JT? What's happening? A lot of positivity should be flowing Ashton Jeanty's way. He's a young guy, and it's good to hear that it might just be an ankle sprain. If that's what it is, we'll see what it is. But he's young, and he's a good kid, meaning that he's going to listen to his medical staff. He'll do whatever they're prescribing for him to get as healthy as quickly as possible. And so I'm just glad it wasn't worse from, what the news was yesterday. And we're just going to keep it positive for what it is. And this is what the organization is actually geared up to do. They brought in a young running back in Ashton, and he's here, and he'll do his thing. And they got, Mike Washington in the back, and I get that. But Ashton Jeanty is the dude. We're going to give him time. It reminds me of Kobe in that championship game when he hurt his ankle. And he was really worried. And Magic stepped in and said, hey, dude, this series is a long series. Chill out. You need to give yourself a body a chance to heal, and then you'll have time to get back. That's what they need to tell Ashton. He can take his time and get healthy, and he'll be ready for the season. That's what we're going to keep going. The last thing I'll say is I like the way that the quarterback is developing, the quarterback room overall. But Mendoza is looking good. And if he have those, couple of drop passes and things, his numbers would have looked better. So he's doing his thing. To me, he's competing to try to get into the starting lineup as quickly as he can. And he's going to have to beat out Cousins to do it. So Cousins going to start. And for Cousins, he has to compete because he's going to have to win games. He can't go 0-5 and think he's going to keep, hold off Mendoza. Mendoza's coming. He's going to keep coming. Every game of the year, he's coming. We'll be playing before the end of this year, which is what we want out of him pushing forward. Thanks a lot, JT. You guys take care.
Yeah, appreciate the call. Opens up a line for you, 702-365-9200, and get rolling here if you want to get through. I'll say this again. Cousins wins, he stays, and he plays. You can't sit Cousins if he wins. He's a veteran. He's the second highest paid football player to ever live behind Tom Brady. He's made more guaranteed money than any football player who has ever lived other than Tom Brady. He will not sit if he's winning. If he doesn't win, he'll sit. I mean, this isn't Captain Obvious stuff. I mean, it's lower than that. Everybody understands what's going to happen. Everybody understands that if he wants to keep his job as a starting quarterback for a famous franchise, the Raiders, he's got to win the games. We all know that. So go out and beat Miami and beat Tyler Shuck in New Orleans, and Kirk Cousins can play for a couple months. Couple of months. If he gets to 3-1 or 2-2, he ain't going anywhere, because that's when the gauntlet starts. That's when the gauntlet starts. The gauntlet starts after New Orleans, because Kansas City at home is a gauntlet game. They've owned the Raiders. They've owned the Raiders since this building has been built. And we know that. They won a Super Bowl in our building. So don't think the gauntlet starts with Buffalo or no, it starts with Kansas City at home. So just win games, and he'll play as long as he wants. If he loses a number of games, then there could be a problem. And then we're going to be at a point in the season where there'll be a lot of hype around Fernando, and I think Raider fans will, enjoy the struggle of seeing Fernando go out there, and hopefully he plays well. But you better believe he needs to play this year. He was taken number 1 overall. He's not here to sit on the bench. There's a certain amount of time where you got to crack the glass and put him in the game in year 1. And that's all up to Kirk Cousins and this team being successful. And that's also going to have a lot to do with Ashton Jeanty being successful, right? Him being successful on this ankle healing so they can get him back. I had a really good time on Saturday night. I was invited to go to Circa, and I was there with the Draft Nation event at Circa, and the Black Hole showed up, and there had to be 250 Raider fans, at least 250 Raider fans. And then, very humbling, I didn't know that they brought me up on stage and gave me an award, which it wasn't made out of solid gold, but it was a brick bar, a gold brick bar, like you'd see a gold bar. And it was really humbling and they brought me on stage. I was able to say a few words. Thor and Summerlin were there. And Thor, we had a cigar after that on top of the Legacy Lounge at Circa with the wind blowing and a perfect view of the city of Vegas. Good to see you, Thor.
JT, my brother, yes, we did. Honestly, that was the first time I've been up there. I really liked it up there. And can't wait to go back. I never really go downtown to Circa. And so it was a good time. It was a good time up there. And you know me, JT, I'm a positive dude, especially when it comes to the Raiders. And I'm thinking positive. So when I heard about Jeanty yesterday, I was like, all right, he got banged up a little hippie eye. Let's see what's going on. And then I started watching all these people panicking. And you would have thought that the world ended. Season's over. The Raiders season's over. All this crazy nonsense. JT, man, stop it. Stop it. Be positive. Let's not worry about stuff until it happens. And now, Jeanty, go out, get stronger, get healed, be ready to go, and let's run the ball down people's throats.
Yeah.
Let's see the tight ends get in there. Let's run the ball, and let's win ball games. 3-1 out of the first 4, JT. I'm ready for it.
Thank you, Thor. Appreciate it. And he's right about this. If the Raiders are ready to run the ball down the throat of everybody with Mike Washington Jr., Ashton Jeanty, 12 personnel, with Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers and Colt Miller and DJ Glaze and Tyler Linderbaum, if they can push the pile, then the Raiders can run the ball and stay on the field. We'll wrap up the hour coming up next. Wide open for hour number 2. There's a lot more I want to get into. An update on the Jed York situation. Also, Ryan McFadden from ESPN, who's at Raiders practice, says that Ashton Jeanty, Dante Thornton Jr., and tight end Carter Runyon are the only players not practicing today. Expected that Ashton Jeanty would not be out there.
To the JT the Brick Show. Brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
In the end, I think the Raiders for a couple of hours were holding their breath when he was going to meet with doctors. And by the time he got done with those examinations, my understanding is it's a sprained ankle. I don't know if he's going to miss any time. I don't know if they know if he's going to miss any time. They're waiting to see that. But it's certainly not a long-term injury. That we know.
All right, that's Adam Schefter on the update with Ashton Jeanty, and we'll go with that because that's the information he gets, and I have sources in the building, and he has a long-time source chain with the Raiders, and it's an ankle injury. No one knows how long he's going to be out. He was not at practice today. Practice is happening as we speak. We want to thank Boyd Gaming. They helped me get to Houston. Boyd Gaming is the local casinos partner of the Raiders. They have 10 local casinos here in the Valley. We support Boyd Gaming, proud partner of our show, as we kick off our coverage of the Raiders season in 2 weeks as we keep here. Mikey, hold on. I'll do Mike in Vegas and then Mikey in L.A. Mike, what's happening in Vegas?
I like to say I feel with the Raiders coaching staff and the fine drafting and the fine management that the Raiders are in good shape. I don't think Ashton Jeanty will be out that long. And also, JT, I'd like to say the Raiders are so much more organized than the haphazard, terrible Cleveland Browns. I mean, how can you keep that quarterback around, Deshaun Watson? He's so terrible. He's going to start game one. So the Raiders, compared to other teams in the league, are going to be in good shape, and I still think they can win between 6 and 8 games this year if they keep their injuries free and the coaching staff keeps the players in line as far as turnovers and mistakes. I think the team is in good shape for this year and the future.
All right. Yeah. Listen, I don't want to sit here and compare the Raiders to the Browns. And I think Deshaun Watson deserves an opportunity to play in this league. He's atoned for his mistakes. He's a human being. He shouldn't get booed by his fans when he gets an Achilles injury. I think that's over the top and outlandish. But he hasn't looked good. And I've always said, start Shedeur and leave Shedeur alone. Ari Mirov, the great NFL insider, just reports that 49ers owner Jed York responded to an ad on a prostitution website and arranged a $140 sexual encounter before being arrested upon arriving at a mobile home park in East Palestine, Ohio, as part of a human trafficking sting operation. York, who grew up about 20 miles away, filed for divorce from his wife of more than 15 years in May. Developing hot, ... Mikey in L.A., my good friend, who drives all the way to Vegas for Raider games. How are you, buddy?
Hey, buddy. Missing man. How are you?
I'm doing really good, man. Can't wait to see you for the start of the season. Reach out to me.
I can't wait. A quick comment on the Niners. Doesn't he have tons of money where it could be kept a little discreet? But on the side, don't forget that. Hey, I just want to maybe educate some of these fans, RaiderNation, whatever you're, who commented about Jeanty and his injury, and it's better because Washington's better. There's 32 football teams. There's a 53-man roster. Give and take, that means 1,500 players on each roster, not counting practice squad, so-and-so. You've got college, Division I, 112, I think, with a 93-man roster, which I give and take over, what that number is. The fact that people can go out there, first of all, Jeanty's hurt, to even make any type of comment about either that's better or good or whatever. I didn't necessarily read it. I'm just hearing what you're saying. That these trolls on, fans that are going on there and saying, oh, that's good, or no problem, or that's better because Washington's better. Let me remind you guys, when you make it to the NFL, you're 1% of the 1%ers. When you become a starting position, whatever the position may be, that's hard to do. Okay? Jeanty was about to win a Heisman Trophy. He was that close. Yeah. Anyway, regardless, my point is, the guy with that horrific offensive line last year was so productive and almost 1,000 yards away. And for you, anyone to sit there and say, oh, that's better anyway because Washington is a better running back is an idiotic statement.
I agree. Mike, you got to run. It's the top of the hour. I'm happy I was able to get you in. I agree with you. I appreciate you. No one should be mentioning Mike Washington Jr. when Jeanty gets hurt. Everybody should be focused on Jeanty and Jeanty becoming a better player and getting through this injury. I agree with you. I love Mike Washington Jr. I met him for the first time on the trip. I want him to be great. But this is Ashton Jeanty, the 6th pick overall. We need him healthy. We, the Raider Nation. That hour was brought to you by the Black Hole. Do you got your tickets yet? Are you going to the opening party at Palms with Too Short and Warren G right before Miami comes to town?
The break.
All right, JT, back with you. Hour number 2. I got 4 hours tonight on Mad Dog Sports Radio on Sirius XM 82. I think there's 24 hours in a day, and I'll be live for 6 on Radio Solo. It's a long day. If you would have told me when I started 30 years ago I'd still be doing it, I'd say, wow, you took the over, you won. So we'll do that tonight. Ashton Jeanty's injury seems to be dominating the show. My good buddy Mitch Adams, who I go back with, I go back with him day one in Oakland. He just texted me because he couldn't call in, but he's watching on the YouTube stream. He says, JT, in regards to Ashton Jeanty's health, and that's because I spent 16 years with the team, and like you, I always tell people relax until the team makes an announcement. Thank goodness it's just an ankle. The offense is poised to be very explosive this year, and Ashton is a main ingredient on why we're counting on this. Jeanty, please take your time to return because we need your availability. JT, I'm excited for this season, for all the free agents brought in on both sides of the ball, as well as our draft picks. I'll hit you the next time I come to the game, and we'll grab a Modelo. Thanks, Mitch. Good to hear from you, buddy. And Modelo's proud partner of our show, hour number 2 of the broadcast, brought to you by the fighting spirit of Modelo. So when Ashton got hurt at practice, I was on the radio working from home, and my phone started blowing up, and everybody was asking me. I mean, everybody. I got at least 45 texts from people saying, what did I know? I didn't know anything, nor did anybody else. Because when Ashton Jeanty left the field at the Intermountain Performance Health Center with the doctors and trainers, he went into the training room, and no fans and bloggers went with him. No one went with him other than Raider representatives. And their job, the trainers and the doctors, are to get him to be comfortable and then examine him. And then we found out, and that took a while, and then a couple of reports out there that it was an ankle instead of a knee, but we don't know the severity of the ankle, and no one knows. The only one who probably knows is the coach, and maybe Max Crosby knows because he can just walk into the room and ask. But not a lot of people are going to know the status of Ashton Jeanty because the Raiders don't want that out. So the coach is going to speak tomorrow, correct, Clay? I think Klint Kubiak has availability tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, tomorrow morning.
The first question he's going to be asked is, what's the status of Jeanty?
Oh, yeah.
Ahead of the game, and he'll probably say he's out for the game or, he's working his way back. That's it. And we're going to have to wait around to see what happens. But the Niners are in town this week for the rest of the week because we have shows all week. I want to get your opinion at some point on that game. Do you want to play or rest the starters? That's an important topic. I don't do a lot of low-hanging fruit, mail-it-in radio. I don't. I'd like to talk about topics that matter. We're not the show of the practice squad, but this is the last week for players to make the team. And there's some players at the wide receiver position. So we found out today that the Raiders, again, released Noah Brown, the receiver. And maybe we got an indication of that, Clay, because of something real important. When Coach Kubiak spoke the other day, he didn't seem to be very high on the receivers, right? He didn't seem like he was talking about this receiver room just doing extraordinary things. Maybe that had to do with something in regards to the tape and what he saw with the game.
We have to get a lot better very fast. That we took a step backwards doesn't mean we can't go forward, but right now we are trying to find someone that is accountable and can help us on Sunday. Still looking.
Wow. Whoa. I think I've heard everything Klint Kubiak said since he's been hired. I was at his press conference. I've interviewed him already. Got to talk to him a little bit on the road trip. Clay, is that probably the most, I think, honest thing or transparent thing? Because he's a guy that's not going to give away information to the opponent. But he basically just said that our receivers aren't getting the job done. We got to get better.
I like the fact that he's short and sweet, but he tells you what he thinks. And the wide receiver room is on alert. Yeah. So anybody who thought they had a safe job does not.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, I don't think the strength of the team is wide receiver, but remember, there will be wide receivers available on cutdown day. Okay, so these games are going to be played through Saturday. The good news for the Raiders is they play Thursday, and they don't have to play until 2 Sundays from then. They don't have to go to Australia. They don't have to leave early and go to Europe. The Raiders are in a really good spot for that Miami game if they can get out of this other game healthy. Okay, so there's been a few injuries, but if the Raiders can get out of this game against the Niners, that'll be interesting. All right, breaking news with the owner of the 49ers, Jed York. So when we look at the situation with him, accusations that he went online to where he used to grow up, where he used to live in East Palestine, Ohio, and he pleads no contest after being arrested, no contest on a prostitution arrest. The 46-year-old Youngstown native responded to an undercover ad and arranged to pay $140 for sex at a Wheat Hill mobile home community park, leading to his arrest Sunday morning by a human trafficking task force. Initially charged with engaging in prostitution and possessing criminal tools. Prosecutors reduced the prostitution count to disorderly conduct. Well, that's nice. That's nice when you're a celebrity. That's cool. Does that mean everybody who does this now gets it knocked down? Or do you got to be rich to get it knocked down? How's that work? Let me repeat. He had the criminal tools charge. Prosecutors reduced the prostitution count to disorderly conduct. So that, I would assume that means that every other human being who ever gets arrested on this charge should have it reduced to disorderly conduct if that's what happened to Jed York, Clay, right? I mean, I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, but you figure the law is equal, right? That must be the standard way.
I guess so. How would that deter from people doing that again if you can get it knocked down to a disorderly conduct?
And I mean, when you think of how they're bringing human trafficking is involved, I mean, that's usually a Class A felony. So there's discrepancy in how maybe the law is being dispersed for a special particular client.
All right, let's read more of this because it's just out. York pleaded no contest Monday to both misdemeanors, received one-day jail sentences with credit for time served, and paid about $1,150 in fines and fees. The 49ers stated the matter is resolved with no further comment, while the NFL plans to review it under its personal conduct policy as the team gets geared up here. There's a mugshot of Jed York allegedly arranging to pay $140 for sex at a trailer park. And this isn't dancing on the grave of Jed York. This is reporting news. And we're a sports talk station. So when I look at this situation for Jed York, I know Niner fans really well. Okay, my career started with the Niner Empire and the Raider Nation. Jed York will no longer be walking the sidelines of an NFL field because the fans alone will destroy him. Now, not a lot of people can recognize Jed York. If he walked into Carbone, the restaurant at Aria, no one would know him. They'd know Jerry Jones if he walked in. They'd know Mark Davis. They'd know Robert Kraft. They don't know Jed York. But Jed York's in a tough spot right now. So we'll see how this plays out. And clearly, I think because he's so connected back there, that he's probably, with this arrangement, going to be okay going forward when it comes to legally. Deshaun Watson will be the starting quarterback in Cleveland. A little bit surprised about that. A little bit. Because yesterday when I was on the radio, I had an insider who covers the Browns and was like, that's his last press conference. They're probably going to eat his contract. They couldn't eat his contract. $240 million guaranteed. There's still a lot of meat on that bone. So that's one of the storylines that we're keeping an eye on here. UNLV opens up at home. They better win that game. And then Bishop Gorman won on Friday night against St. John Bosco at home, and that's a massive win for Bishop Gorman. They were up big. Bosco came all the way back. Gorman won late. And now all Gorman has to do, and it's not easy because they play Mater Dei. Their schedule is a national schedule. Gorman, if they run the table because they beat Bosco, could win the national championship of high school. So for those who don't like Gorman, you don't like what they do, every state has a Gorman or a wannabe Gorman. Okay, I'm not saying it's perfect. My son played for Gorman, won a state championship there. I'm a Gorman dad. Both my kids went there. I root for them. But that's a big boy win. And a lot of people went to that game and enjoyed that. Opens up a line at 702-365-9200. So I wanted to get to Rob Leonard, who spoke earlier today before practice. Here is the defensive coordinator of the Silver and Black.
Obviously, a couple blitzes the other night, but for the most part, I mean, extremely vanilla. You didn't have to play your starters last week. Are you pleased with how much you've been able to do and yet how much you've not been had to show?
Yeah. I mean, I'm really just thinking about just improving with the guys. You're really over the scheme right now, and not, you can get into your own head, what to show, what not to show. I wanted our play style to improve from game one to game two. And I think we did that. just the focus of what I'm asking these guys to do. Klint talks all the time about our operation, substitution, getting in and out of the huddle, sense of urgency to get lined up, safety rotation. That's really been the focus over all of those things, of improving with that.
For you, just for these last 2 games, being in this new role, what has it been like, as a defensive coordinator in the sideline in an in-game situation? How has that adjustment been like for you these last 2 weeks?
It's been fun. You learn something every game. Very focused, everything is, you're just so process oriented within the middle of the game. As soon as the series is done, what problems do we need to fix? Coach is up, let's get on the same page here of, just the same thing. Okay, what do we run on 1st and 10 that last series? What do we want to do the next series? Very similar to how we would do it as a position coach, but now being the guy that is making sure you get the right information from upstairs to get the right information to the position coaches. And, we talk about a lot as a staff of them understanding the cadence of how the game's going to flow together. So we're in this together. You hear Klint talk about that all the time of Travis, for example, is in charge of the early down run game. So we're talking about early down run. He's the head coach of that area. So what adjustments do we need to make? And him and I are interacting there in 3rd down and red zone and so on and so forth. So the more we continue to gel as a staff, the easier the whole process becomes, because you can't do it yourself.
How much did that process slow down from week 1 to week 2?
A little bit. I just thought we put our guys in a little bit better position to do what we do. We were very vanilla, early, but, the guys played faster because we ran a lot of calls that our guys are familiar with, without speaking too much on that. Yeah.
How have you seen kind of the young quarterbacks like Jamad, Hezekiah, even Darian Porter going to year 2, how they've been growing throughout this training camp?
They've grown a lot. The highs and the lows. We're just talking about steady performance, and like any rookie, the emotional highs and lows, when they complete a pass can't be the end of the world. Let's not make it stack 2 plays in a row of that, and they've had a lot of production, but, it's the consistency, we talked about that as a defensive unit I told them a week ago, we're at practice and we're making plays. They come in bunches. And then when adversity strikes, who's going to step up to respond within the flow of a practice? I'm going to tell them, I can't help you. Who's going to rally the troops? They get 2 first downs in a row, and we got to get a stop and get off the field. And it's the same challenge I ask of those guys.
Patrick Johnson has come on strong. He's only been here a short time. Yeah. I'd love your assessment, Robbie, where you think he's at.
Very instinctive player, tough. Enjoyed, very smart. And I think his play speaks for itself.
How beneficial was that joint practice with the Texans for this defense, and what were your takeaways from that session?
Good. It just tells you where you're at. I thought we made actually a lot of improvement. We ended the 2-minute with 2 picks to win the game. The ball production, you can't improve at everything at the same time, right? So you can only emphasize so much, and so ball production has been there up at the top. There's other things to fix as you go along the way, but there's a progression to it. You can't walk into a meeting and, gotta get a better 3rd down, stop under this, you just chip away at one thing at a time has really been the focus. And I've been trying to be consistent about what the focus is for today. So today is 3rd down, and that's what we're focused on today. So our operation and things like those.
Trey Stooks has really blossomed, and I'm not calling him a finished product, blossomed since he's got here under you guys' tutelage. Would you talk about all the various things he's been able to do?
Yeah, he's been consistent. I'm pushing him to my job is to push him outside of his comfort zone and challenge him in every way possible. Safeties are a big part of this defense, and he's done a great job with that. I'm just not going to stop pushing him. And he's done a very good job. I think he played a lot faster last game. And I think, again, the instincts are self-explanatory.
You just talked about a specific area of focus. I think last week Klint brought up that run defense was an area of focus.
Yeah.
He thought in the Texans game that the team took a step forward in that area. Do you feel kind of the same way? And is there some stuff that you still need to improve on there?
And the 2 explosive plays on the first series stick out in your mind glaringly. So it's like, as a coach, it's never good enough, So, we misfit. And, there's always something to improve. But, yeah, I mean, stacking plays, that was great to see. I mean, like I said, like you guys asked, the games and the joint practices are just a reflection of what you really are and what the guys really know, you know. So, you know, I was happy with improvement.
Going back to the young DBs, you mentioned helping them kind of get over a play if it doesn't go their way. With their first time in the preseason, I'm sure every play seems like a bigger magnitude because it's their first time playing in the NFL. How have they responded to the coaching from you guys to make sure that they learn from the last play, but they don't dwell on it and continue to move forward?
Yeah, they've responded really well. I think that's a collective effort from their teammates, from the position coach. You know, feeling the love and support as if any human being isn't having success at something, of uplifting them within those moments. And I think it's been really good. That starts with your culture. You know, it reflects of when a teammate's down, how do you react? Is he sitting there by himself? And genuine care and love for that person based on how they're working. And it's been fun to see. I certainly don't feel alone doing that and picking up these guys.
Coach, obviously you're focused on the defensive side of things, but from your vantage point, did you see what happened with Ashton yesterday?
Yeah, I can't comment on any of that.
Competition has been stressed so much under Klint. As we go into the last week of training camp, do you have a good idea where your ones and twos are, or is this last week of training camp going to be critical?
Not as much ones and twos, but the players are aware, and we're aware of where the competition is at, regardless of who's starting or who is not. You know, there's some competitive position groups without declaring. And we try to talk like, this guy's a starter, this guy, I mean, until we take the field, that's still never ending. But, you know, they're well aware of who's competing, how important special teams is. I guess everything with these guys.
Cody and Tommy have both had really good, your opinion, a lot more valid than mine, but in my opinion, for you to watch those two really in your defense blossom, will you talk about their maturation, please?
Yeah, the Bergs. We got the Bergs. I mean, Tommy's a killer. He takes it very seriously. He's very focused. Yeah, I love Tommy for a million reasons. I could go on and on. I think Cody's one of the most improved players from just in terms of movement and efficiency from where he was last year, and I think it really stood out in the spring. And I'm just proud. I'm really proud of Cody, of all the work he's put in. It means the world to those guys. Those guys do everything they could possibly do. So just very proud of those guys and want to see them have success as much as they want.
All right, two more guys.
Coach, if you Georgia Bulldogs on your side of the ball, what's one quality that those guys bring to the defense?
Confidence, a little bit of swagger, you know, just true essence of football players, you know. They'll call you out on BS, or they just see things for what it is, see things for what they are.
You brought up kind of competition and guys knowing where they stand. Like, what are conversations like with you and Klint going into this final week in terms of roster construction and being like, this guy can help me here, but we want to, bring in guys that can help the entire team, kind of keeping guys on defense compared to, holistic.
Very direct and honest. It was the way you just articulated it. Just a normal conversation of talking about the competition and the plus and minuses of different scenarios, and that's pretty much it.
All right, there it is. Robbie Leonard speaking to the media earlier today, and when he talks, we're going to play it. That's my new thing. When he talks, and look, sometimes it happens during our show. Today, practice was during our show. I would have been at practice, but it was here during this time, so we're here in studio. But I want to hear what he has to say because he is critical with the success here. This is a big spot for him. He goes from defensive line coach to the defensive coordinator. He comes up through some really good coaching and some players, some coaches that he's coached with in the past who has helped them get to this position. But he's got to win games. And a lot of people are wondering if this defense is up to snuff. Is this defense going to get off the field? Well, the starters aren't playing. So how can we answer that without Max on the field? Max has been held out of the preseason, rightfully so. He requires a double team on every play. So a lot of other guys aren't playing much. So if you look at this defense and it's set against Miami, and this is just off the top of my head, Max Crosby at one edge, Kwity Paye at the other. In the interior, Adam Butler, Tonka Hemingway, and a rotation of fresh legs. You're going to have Nakobe Dean and Quay Walker at linebacker. Our friend Alex Eshelman, the insider, asked that question. The two Georgia Bulldogs. And then on the secondary, you're going to have Eric Stokes. You're probably going to have Jeremy Chin. And then you're either going to have Traden Stukes, which I think he's fighting on to be a starter on this team at some point, but probably Isaiah Palomal. And I look at the team overall, and I think the depth, it's who's going to play the other corner opposite of Stokes. That's the big question mark for me. So is there going to be more DB talent available for better corners? Possibly. Are they going to be able to find that? Maybe. So there's still a work in progress here. I think if Max Crosby plays well this year, and I hope he's here and is back next year. I love Max. Happy birthday to Max. He just turned 29. They're going to have another free agency and draft class next year, and there will be 0 holes on this team. 0 on the defensive side. But that's going to require one more draft and one more free agency. I don't think they're there yet with their defense that can be a defense that could go to a Super Bowl. And Rob Leonard's going to have to be patient because he's going to be breaking in younger players and trying to get them experience and hope that these players can play. So there's a work in progress here. And I think Rob Leonard sees that. And I think Rob Leonard is demanding that these players play well. We gave you the soundbite earlier of Klint Kubiak really calling out the wide receivers like they got to get better. And Rob Leonard, I think, is looking at that defense because they're playing very vanilla and they're not showing anything in the preseason. That's their plan, which I support. How is this team going to be week 1 against the Dolphins? They better be good. Because if they're not going to show anything and they're not going to play Max, they have to be good week 1. All agree? All agree on this. It's a performance-based business. They have to be elite. Not elite, that's not the right word. They have to be at their best week 1 against Miami. And believe me, the first road games at the Chargers, they better be ready for Justin Herbert because he will pick them apart if they don't have a pass rush. If they don't get to Justin Herbert will pick them apart, and we don't want to see that happen. Ross Dellenger is going to join us next. He's a big shot college football insider. I'm mixing in college football this week. UNLV Memphis. There's a big game coming up here. We got a lot to cover here. Week 0 in college football is upon us. So we got college football this weekend. That's a big deal. And if you're looking to go hang out and have a good time, why not the M Resort? They have the sports book, multiple bars, the Raiders Tavern and Grill, all there at the M Resort for you to watch games and have a good time. They're a proud partner of our show. Ross Dellenger next. He'll join us from Yahoo Sports.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by M Resort Spa and Casino, the official hotel of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Connor Hayward is the split-out wide receiver to the left side. 2 tight ends to the right. Laube, the lone tailback. O'Connell turns, hands it off to Laube. Bounces it to the outside at the 5. Angling to the goal line. Touchdown, Raiders! Dylan Laube started up the middle. Angled out to the right. Does his shimmy in the end zone. And the Raiders cap it off. A fumble recovery for the defense. And Laube for 6.
Jason Horowitz on the call. Dylan Laube's having a nice camp, and he's a valuable player. He plays special teams. If a guy like Ashton Jeanty's hurt, he can come in and play with Mike Washington. He's valuable because he can do multiple things here. JT, back with you. We want to thank Roger and the entire team at Steiner's Pub, new proud partner of our show. Roger is passionate about sports. He's passionate about a great menu. He's passionate about all of the people that come and enjoy his fine establishments. And I've been going to Steiner's for years, and I am thrilled that they're part of this show here. You'll be hearing a lot from Roger, some remotes, some opportunities. Man, he goes on the road with fans. Good man. Ross Dellenger, kind enough to join us, senior writer for college football at Yahoo Sports. And, Ross, I want to begin with the start of the season here. I was led to believe that we'd see better matchups in week 0 or week 1 because the college football landscape is expanding, but I don't see that too much on the schedule. Is this good or bad going forward for college football?
Well, yeah. I think if you look at how teams have scheduled, and maybe more so how teams have canceled scheduled games, they've canceled a lot of big games. A lot of programs have canceled a lot of big series with other power conference programs, and I think that probably tells you that the playoffs still isn't big enough to have many of these big brand matchups, and that's why a lot of people want to go and expand the playoff more to 24 teams. Right now they're kind of exploring that possibility, and I think if that were to happen, you'd probably have more people schedule. The idea, in theory, you'd have more people schedule bigger games early in the season. But right now, I think we saw some big ones. But I'll be honest. Like when I think about opening weekend, and I look at this year's opening weekend, this is probably, at least the week one isn't as glamorous as some years in the past, and I think it is because, at least in the minds of many administrators and coaches, the playoff isn't big enough to schedule big matchups, and everybody's worried about being saddled with a loss early in the year.
Well, it comes down to the Big Ten, which has been dominant as of late, in the SEC, the two great power conferences here. What do you envision when you look at the playoffs where it stands today on how many teams can get in from both the Big Ten and the SEC? What's the, I don't want to say worst case scenario because it is for fans who aren't in those conferences, but can we see maybe 8 teams, 4-4 from the Big Ten and the SEC make it out of the 12? I mean, how many can end up doing this where teams don't want to schedule big because all they're caring about is protecting their schedule so they can get into the playoff?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main driving factor is advancing to the playoff and making the field. As far as how many programs might make it from each league, I think that if you look at years past, there's pretty good odds, right, that you're going to have probably at least 3 teams from each of those leagues, the Big Ten and SEC, if not 4, and perhaps even some years 5. The problem is that those leagues, especially it seems in the SEC, they tend to sort of beat each other up. I know it's sort of a cliche, but if you look at some of these schedules, especially in the SEC, you'll see it's just one after another top 25 type matchup in some big atmospheres and crazy places to play. So I think that they could end up eliminating each other sometimes. I think you've seen some of that in the SEC last year. You've seen that. But there's a high likelihood that half of the 12-team field will be from the SEC or the Big Ten.
Do you have an SEC team that you think has been on the outside looking in that could make a run this year? Because we know the power of Georgia and Alabama when they get going, but Oklahoma, the Venerables contract extension, some of the other teams, Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin leaves and goes to LSU, kind of handicap maybe the top 3 or 4 teams, and maybe another team you think could sneak in.
Well, Georgia's always going to be right there. That they're so solid with Kirby Smart on defense. They're probably not as deep, especially on the defensive line, as they used to be. Now that's a product of probably the modern day college football and the landscape where you have such unlimited transfer movement and the compensation. It kind of brings other programs in. Your history and your big brand doesn't mean quite as much in recruiting as it used to because money's involved and now players can transfer constantly. So stacking depth is very difficult. But Georgia's still going to be up there, right? Alabama certainly has the talent. They just named a starting quarterback, young kid, Keelan Russell, and I think he's going to be really, really good. And then, surprise team, you mentioned LSU. I think it is LSU. Lane Kiffin's there. Obviously, he is stacked. He knows how to work the portal, and they've done a good job of that over the offseason. And now he's, recruiting players who are currently in the NFL at training camp. So coming back and getting eligibility. So I think they're going to have enough talent there to win 9, 10 games in the SEC. I do believe that. And then, of course, Texas, right? Arch Manning and Texas. They get the receiver they got, Cam from Coleman from Auburn, is perhaps the best in the country. So those would be my my group to be on top of the league this year.
I was going to get to it at the end, but let's fast forward to it now. You just mentioned about players that are able to leave the NFL and go back, and not a lot of people have discussed this well, and you're really good at this. Break it down so everybody can understand either the stupidity of this to try to make it in the NFL and then go back to college with eligibility and maybe make more money than being a practice squad player, and how slippery of a slope this is, because I can't imagine college football is going to let this go on. I got to think they're having meetings saying, look, we haven't figured it out yet. Maybe this could work for 1 year, but we got to cap this and we got to stop this. What are you hearing?
Well, they've tried, right? They've tried to cap it and stop it. What ends up happening is players and their attorneys certainly go to court, and local kind of friendly state judges, and they get wins. They get eligibility to play. So what's kind of happening right now, to sort of lay it all out there and explain it, because it is pretty complicated. The NCAA back in the spring decided to change their eligibility policy. It was, you have 4 seasons to play over 5 years, and they changed it to 5 seasons. That you could play 5 seasons in 5 years instead of 4 seasons in 5 years. Well, all the players who were seniors in this past spring, those seniors who exhausted their eligibility under the old rule because they played in 4 seasons and didn't take a red shirt, they weren't grandfathered into the new rule. The NCAA didn't give them an exception. And that's the group who's suing, right? That's the group that believes they should have a 5th season and they should be grandfathered in to the new rule because they would be eligible under the new rule, but not the old rule. So that's kind of what's happening. And some of these players obviously didn't know that the NCAA was changing their eligibility rule when they signed with a pro franchise or when they decided to go into the NFL. And so that's what we're seeing. We're seeing, probably over a dozen or so NFL training camp players trying to get eligibility to return to the college game.
Incredible storyline. USC, I'm out west. Lincoln Riley's had some time now. I'm not saying the time's running out, but he's a good coach. But he's got to recruit and dominate Southern California. He's got to recruit nationally. He's playing in a conference that I thought USC, when they went to the Big Ten, are like, we'll figure this out and dominate it. That ain't the case. Indiana is better than USC on paper. Where do we stand with Lincoln Riley and USC? Are they close?
Well, I was just working on my kind of annual Coach Hot Seat story that I'll run at Yahoo Sports probably tomorrow, and he's toward the top of the list. I think that this needs to be the year that they need to make the playoffs. And I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think there could be a change there. It's a lot of money. I think it's over 50, maybe even upwards of $60 million in buyout to buy out his contract. It's a private school, so we don't have the exact contract, but that is the neighborhood, probably around $60 million is what my understanding is. So that's a lot of money, but I think there's enough frustration there that if the playoff doesn't happen, then they may make a change. They've given him a lot of resources. They've hired a new general manager this offseason. Obviously, they have a new defensive coordinator that we all know and love, Gary Patterson, former TCU coach. That's going to be an interesting fit out there. But he knows ball, that's for sure. So it'll be fascinating to see. Obviously, Jade Maeva at quarterback. I mean, they have the pieces they need to get to that 10-win mark, lock up a playoff bid, or else.
Ross, last one. You write a lot of in-depth pieces here for Yahoo, and you've been doing this a while. Do you think the state of college football is in a good place? And I don't mean so much financially. TV money's always going to be there, and TV money bails out every sport. It's just enormous. Everybody gets paid more because the TV and streaming money never goes away, and it continues to go up. But have you noticed that a lot of college football fans are just done with the politics of college football and the super conferences, and are we going to expand the playoffs, and NFL training camp players coming back to college? It's just a lot for college football fans who want to fill up a cooler of beer, go down to their alma mater and watch a game. There's just a lot of noise on the outside. What are you hearing from fans?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's frustration from a lot of fans, especially at the player movement, the amount of player movement and transfer. And now you have this eligibility stuff, as you mentioned. I think that's roundly opposed by the general fan. The problem is that college athletics, the money involved in college athletics has gotten so big that judges and courts around the country have basically told the NCAA, you have to pay the players, right? And you have to let them move wherever, sort of because the amateurism is been ruled against antitrust law. And so that's kind of where we're at. I think the bill in Congress, the Protect College Sports Act, could help stabilize some things. Some people believe it wouldn't help. And the bill is sort of still alive, but it's going to be difficult. The Congress will they'll return to session in September, actually mid-September, probably in week 3 of the season, and they'll start debating whether they're going to intervene and pass this bill that would limit transfers and so limiting movement and would cap eligibility and ban pro players from coming in back into college sports. So the bill might help, but certainly the general college football fan is probably tired of talking about all this. But I tell you what, it hasn't affected ratings because as soon as kickoff happens, the TV ratings have been the biggest the last few years than they've ever been.
Thank you, Ross. You do great work. I was really excited to find out we were going to have this conversation. All the best, and I hope to have you on again soon.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Ross. Ross Dellenger from Yahoo. I believe that college football is in a very bad place, other than financially. Let me repeat that again. If you look at this NIL insanity, if you look at college football players now and their ability to quit on every team they want and go to another team, we have NFL players at NFL training camps leaving the NFL to go back to college. We don't have super games anymore because everyone's afraid to play each other early in the season. How could anybody quantify and say that college football is better than it was with the Miami Hurricanes of the 90s or Tom Osborne with Nebraska or Joe Paterno with Penn State? And I know that had problems, obviously, outside the program what happened, but I'm talking about the quality of play. Joe Namath at Alabama. So you can debate me and say, well, Georgia football in Alabama over the last 10 years is the best football we've ever seen. That's fair. You can look at those teams and say some of the greatest teams ever. But when you look at college football as a fan, the only reason people are watching college football is to gamble. Or 2 reasons. You went to that school. It's your alma mater. So, Clay, you grow up, you like Michigan State. You're going to tune in and watch a Michigan State game. You can gamble on it. You can go to a bar or casino. You're going to watch it. But you can't tell me that the sport is in better hands with the NIL chaos and everything we've seen here in the last couple of weeks.
No, it's not. In fact, those who are betting and watching college football, they know players and coaches only because they're watching trends and looking for teams to buy in on. But the average college football fan isn't that interested in any of that. So it makes you really wonder, how long is that a sustainable model for growth?
I think as long as television streaming and television networks are desperate for live programming and continue to pay higher fees, they continue to pay higher fees for the NFL, MLB, hockey, college football, everybody's going to think sports are going great because everyone's making more money. I don't look at it that way. When I see the stock market go to 55,000 on the Dow, but there's a war going on and there's problems and there's gas lines and all that, I see a potential problem on the horizon. I see a problem on the horizon for college football because no one's running it. The SEC thinks they're God. They're not. The Big Ten's better. And there's no loyalty. It's good here in Vegas because I think Dan Mullen was a nice fit for this team. And he seems like he wants to stay here. And he's recruiting his ass off. And UNLV football's got a pretty good team. And they're taking on Memphis, and they have to win that game. They have to win that game. Just like the Raiders have to beat Miami. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Raiders have to beat Miami. UNLV has to win their home opener. If you want to have a salvageable season, you want to have a season that you're proud of, Raiders better beat Miami. UNLV better win on Saturday. Bishop Gorman, same thing. I said if Gorman lost to Bosco, bye-bye. Season's over. Now they'll play and they'll win a lot of games. Their goal is gone. Bishop Gorman won. We'll wrap up the show on the other side. Q is coming up at the top of the hour. He was out at practice today. There's a lot of buzz on Ashton Jeanty. And when we have new information on Ashton Jeanty, we'll let you know. I think you'll get it tomorrow when Klint Kubiak is available. We got big shows the rest of the week. Raiders hosting San Francisco on Thursday. Wednesday, I'll be broadcasting from team headquarters. We got some good stuff happening.
We took a step backwards. Doesn't mean we can't go forward, but right now we are trying to find someone that is accountable and can help us on Sunday. Still looking.
Wow, that is a big comment from Klint Kubiak. I'm great with it. JT, back with you. Want to hear more of that? Want to hear what he has to say? Remy Martin, our proud partner. Whenever we play the coach, I talk to the coach. I'm always talking about Remy Martin because they get what we do. They understand our concepts of talking to the coach conceptually about what we're trying to do with X's and O's with Remy Martin. And Cointreau, if you're making any type of margarita, Cointreau is the key to making it a brilliant margarita. Remy Martin, proud partner of our show. They're back for football season. I am honored to be associated with that entire team at Remy Martin. They are a great brand. We are associated with them, and they are proud partners of the show. Also, before I want to get out of here, I want to thank the team at Draft Nation. They put on a big event at Circa that I was invited to with the Black Hole, and we showed up with about 250 Raider fans, and humbly, they gave me an award. And I wasn't, I've interviewed their guys over the years, and they gave me a beautiful award. I just tweeted it out if you want to see that at JT the Brick. Thanks to Mark Jones and the Black Hole, our proud partner. And that was nice. And I had a really good time at that event. They gave Raider fans a 3-hour open bar. And it was a 3-hour open bar. And 250 Raider fans showed up and drank everything they could at that 3-hour open bar. It was pretty amazing to watch. Okay, nice job. You want to get Raider fans to come to your events? Throw a 3-hour open bar. I can promise you 250 members of the Black Hole will come. Q Myers coming up next. Nice to Clay. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you on Mad Dog tonight, 4 hours, 6 to 10 p.m. Pacific.